Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Super Tees video. And Blizzard snuck in at the last second a few class changes, which could be critical to some specializations. And these class tuning adjustments are a great way to see the trajectory of your specialization and maybe help you select what you're going to be maining for the next patch. So make sure that you smash that subscribe button so you don't miss a single update. I am also going to be going on the PTR and testing some of these specializations to see how they feel after the buffs that went through that I absolutely couldn't believe that went through in the last video as well as this one, which I'll have linked at the end of this one if you missed that update. But let's get started here. For Paladin, we've got Lightsmith fixed an issue where Hammer and Anvil was not being activated by Judgment, so bug fixes to help you out. However, it looks like you're going to be getting a buff as well, at least in PvE. Holy Shock healing has been increased by 12%, but not in PvP. Holy Prism healing has been increased by 12%, but not in PvP. Word of Glory healing has been increased by 12%, but not in PvP. And Light of Dawn finally has been increased by 12%, but not in PvP. I am interested to see where Holy ends up landing in PvP for the next patch, mostly because they're removing one of the most overpowered PvP talents with Hallowed Ground, which basically makes Judgment put Consecrate on the ground, and then it dispels snares and snares enemies. That mechanic's getting deleted. So, you know, these throughput buffs not coming through. I'm curious to see where it ends up landing. Your Beacon of Virtue, though, is going to be extended by 10 yards. I don't know if this will help you in rated battleground scenarios. I believe Beacon of Virtue is the one where it's like activates and it provides beacon to all of your allies. So trying to give you a little bit of burst AoE healing here and just healing across the board, at least in PvE. But I'm curious to see what happens with this not being applied in PvP. For Mistweaver, they're reducing all of your healing by 5%. This is a really crappy week to be a monk, honestly. You guys lost your Mystic Touch buff. Now you get a little nerf in healing. But you're not, fortunately, at least not going to be getting nerfed in PvP as well. And now this one was the one that really stood out to me, and it's going to be one of the ones that I'm going to be testing, was Elemental Shaman. So Maelstrom Supremacy now increases the damage of Earth Shock, Elemental Blast, and Earthquake by 25%, up from 15%. And Farseer, Elemental Reverb, now increases Lava Burst damage by 20%, up from 5%. And when we look at the set bonuses and the synergies of this, I think that it's going to be pretty crazy once we start getting into testing the nitty gritty of this, because there's a lot of modifiers. It's this one. I wanted to test out Ret, and I wanted to test out Enhancement Shaman with the set bonus that procs Ascendance, because I wanted to see the proc rate, the uptime, and try and get more dialed in on specifics of what's going on with the patch as we're getting closer and closer and things start getting more locked in. For Discipline Priest, Wheel and Woe will increase the absorption of Power Word Shield by 3% per stack, down from 5%, but not in PvP, so you're still going to remain strong in PvP. Power Word Radiance base mana cost has been increased by 10%, down from 20%, so you're getting more mana efficient. Renew is also more mana efficient, as its cost is being reduced by 30%. I will say, as a Discipline Priest, like, one of the main lost conditions was actually running out of mana, so this could end up providing you a lot of value as a Discipline Priest. Oracle Preventative Measures increases the absorption of Power Word Shield by 30%, though, now down from 40%, but not in PvP. So these are just basically straight buffs. And Entropic Rift damage for Void Weaver Discipline Priest is getting increased by 30%. So big dubs in PvE for Holy. Not really moving too much for Holy and Mistweaver, but Disc is getting some Giga buffs. Ellie Shaman is getting some Giga buffs, and that's exactly what I've got open here. We're a little bit zoomed in more than I want to be, but I've got my Ellie Shaman here. I decked them all out with the current gear. We're all glowy. We're ready to go. I'm very curious to see what types of numbers we get here. We're going to be attacking the PvP training dummy, seeing what our health scales to, seeing relative to our scaled health, how much damage output we're putting, right? Like, if a spell is hitting over 50% of our health, we can probably ascertain that spec is going to be really strong moving into this patch. And I've got my Ret Paladin as well that I've set up here. So this should be an interesting test cycle. I've done 2400 challenges on Ret. I've done it on Enhance. I've done it on Ellie. I've been around the ringer. So we got the PvP dummy here. When we attack the PvP dummy, we got about 1.8 million HP. So that's important when we think relative to everything else. We're going to get a Stormkeeper up, call in the Fire Elemental, Elemental Blast, Lava Burst to get the Equilibriums, and it's time to just fire. So we're hitting 8 million Lightning Bolts. That was something that I just saw immediately off of the rip. Earthshock seems to be hitting tremendously hard with the buff that we saw to that as well. And we're going to be able to pull up the damage meter here in a second with the combat log and really kind of hone in on exactly what's hitting really hard here. So let's get rid of our Fire Elemental. Let's scroll through this. Let's see exactly like some of the biggest numbers. It's kind of annoying that hits for 1 damage because it's low. But I swear I saw like an 8 million hit in there, which is really high. That's a really high hit. Earthshock, 2.7 million. My stats are not fully optimal. I don't have enchants either. So some of this damage is, you could scale these numbers up by a certain percentage. Lava Burst spam seems to be hitting for about 2.7 million relative to 18 million HP pool, which maybe isn't too high. In the face of everything, I wish that thing was not triggering on it. But Earthshock seems to be hitting around 3 million damage. Lava Burst overloads hit for 1.5 million. Maybe not as crazy as honestly as I was expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more with the buffs that came through for this. But I wanted to see the window with Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt, there it was. We got a 7.98 million Lightning Bolt crit just right off the rip, just able to snap out an 8 million Lightning Bolt. That's pretty crazy. And then when we look at the set bonuses, Ancestral Swiftness summons an Empowered Ancestor that deals more damage, so you just get more Lava Bursts, and Ancestral Swiftness will reduce the cast time of all your spells, so you get like a mini Bloodlust on top of your Bloodlust during that window. So to me, Ellie, I think, looks really fun. I think that this is likely going to be a really fun spec. With these changes, with these set bonuses that have come through, with the numbers that it looks like you're able to get on it. I wanted to test out Enhancement Shaman. I wanted to test out the Doom Winds, mostly just to see how long the duration was for the proc Descendants. So you have to go Stormbringer for that, because the set bonus is now in patch 11.2. Switch depending on what hero talent tree you're playing. So if you're playing Stormbringer, it's going to be a little bit different than otherwise, but I just kind of want to smash Stormstrike and just see what the proc rate is. We got to put some one-handers on. So we got our one-handers on. We got all our buffs up. We got a little Wind Fury weapon on. I'm just going to hammer away here and just see, because you'll see the set bonus. Ascendance is a 100% chance to charge, get a charge of Tempest, and nature damage increased by 5%, and Ascendance empowers your next 2 Tempests to gather Storm. Wait, did they remove the Ascendance proc? Did they remove it entirely? Because this looks completely different. Ascendance has a 100% chance to grant Tempest, and every 8 Awakening Storms now activates Ascendance. Oh no, there it is. I'm just tired. Early morning for me. Every 8 Awakening Storms. So Ascendance has a 100% chance to grant a charge of Tempest, and every 8 Awakening Storms. So I probably need to spec into Ascendance here if we're going to see this. I don't even know if I have that build 100% set up here, so we're going to need to try and like just flip over some talents here really quickly in order to get this. So I think for a lot of players, you're probably playing the manual Ascendance. We don't need that talent over there. We'll just flop these guys over here just to get the ability, so we can quickly just hammer in here and just see like what the proc rate is of everything, see what the uptime is of everything, just while we're going ham on this training dummy. And we'll get to see like how much damage every ability is doing, which is honestly not too high on the top end so far. Maybe like a 1 million Lightning Bolt right there. Smash through. Obviously, I'm not the most optimal Ascendance build. I just wanted to see like what the proc rate is exactly. So if we use Ascendance, we're going to get more Awakening Storms procs. And this is also now a nice quality of life, is that when you just spam Stormstrike, it just auto shoots Tempest. You don't have to worry about pressing another keybind like right here. So that's a nice rotation enhancement. No pun intended for the Enhancement Shamans here. But I haven't seen a single Ascendance proc just yet. And I guess like this is going to be the real test, is like how long do I need to attack the training dummy before it actually gives me a proc. You know, this video ends when I get an Ascendance proc, so we can see exactly what's going on and how much damage it does, because so far we have not been able to see a single one just yet. Now, I don't know if I was expecting it to be like Mists of Pandaria, where you're just procking meatballs all the time or something, or if it's just going to be a very infrequent timing for enhancement, but this feels like it's basically not even happening at all, at least so far from attacking. Now, maybe I'm playing incorrectly, and you guys can let me know in the comments down below, and that you can help me out with that one. But so far, it doesn't look like we're getting any procs. The big quality of life improvement, I think, is just that Tempest is now shot automatically during Ascendance. But if we don't get any procs, it's going to be really sad. Let's see what the set bonus says when we're in PvP combat. So it looks like it's still supposed to proc for 6 seconds. Oh, there we go. We got one. It took a little while. It lasted like 2 seconds. Oh my god, bro. Oh no. It lasted, so it is nerfed in PvP, even though I'm attacking the dummy. It says that it's not. That felt like it took a long time to get 2 seconds. That felt a long time to get 2 seconds. Oh my god, dude. Alright, Enhancement Shaman, you guys are only lasting 2 seconds, it seems like. So a little bit of a disappointment there as far as the testing on this, because I think a lot of players were really like excited for this, and I saw a lot of players in my chat, my stream, wanting to check this out and see what was going on with it. But this proc rate seems really low. Hopefully my Ghost Wolves are going to piece it out here because we got to test Ret Paladin. Because Ret Paladin got Omega Giga Juiced. Like, it was like 30% damage on every single ability. So I really want to see what the Omega Giga Juice is like on Ret Paladin. Because they reverted every other buff for the most part on a lot of other classes. But Ret Paladin, they didn't. They just let it be there, even though Ret right now is dominating, his most dominant spec. In PvP, likely also at least a bit in PvE, probably the best spec to play in the game, period. So if it's getting even stronger, then I would anticipate that it's unlikely that you're going to want to be changing anything there. So they basically just buffed every ability by 30%. So let's just attack this training dummy. Let's get our combat log up here, juiced and ready to go, so we can see exactly how much damage we're doing. And we can kind of just go ham on this guy and get some procs going. Oh my god, that thing's in the way. All right, how much damage are we hitting here? I'm seeing like millis, but nothing like too insane. No like 6 millis like we saw. Pretty standard pop of 2 million non-crit though. Seems pretty high. Very curious to see what Judgment ends up hitting for, because I think that Judgment was like the big one that received a lot of attention as far as buffs are concerned. So I think we've been attacking this dummy long enough with the wings. Let's just pull open the combat log here. Hope that we don't get spammed with a bunch of passive procs coming through here. I can't get details to work on the PTR. If anyone knows a version of details that works, please let me know. Hammer of Wrath hits about 2 million. We're sitting about 18 million HP again. I think my shaman had some stamina talents. Final verdicts are hitting for like 1.6. Those seem very similar to the damage output from last season, to be honest. But Blade of Justice 1 million seems a lot higher. Judgment's hitting for 500k non-crit. That seems decently harder. Honestly, yeah, maybe a lot of your Divine Arbiter, bro. We got a we had a 1.5 million final verdict, which proc Divine Arbiter for 2.5 million, which pushed that up to almost 5 million in one global. So that's quite a lot of damage. And then when we tag on the dot damage and the Dawn of Light, right, we're going to be hitting like 7 million in a global. That seems like a lot. Hammer of Wrath hits about 1.6 million. Nothing too ridiculous there with having 18 million HP. Maybe we're going to like the Divine Arbiter meta where we were in previous expansions. I remember in Shadowlands when there's a 3.5 million Hammer of Wrath. So maybe I didn't have a proc for that one. It seems like Final Verdict's hitting about 2 million, but remember our health is scaling up. That would have been really strong in the current season, but moving to the next season, depending on how much our stamina goes up, maybe that's not as strong. It's definitely still really good. Like looking at these numbers and just scrolling through here, I think that Ret is still going to be really good. Maybe it makes sense that the buffs came through. I'll try and get more testing. Maybe I'll try and see if I can set up like some duels or something so we can actually like attack other players as opposed to the training dummy. But like our opener, man, Wake of Ashes is hitting 1 million. We're weaving in 2 million final verdicts. And if we get Divine Arbiter procs during that time, yeah, I mean, I think Ret's going to be really good. It looks like. Now maybe they nerf that back, and that's why it's good to stay subscribed to the channel, because we're gonna be able to track all of that live. But those are like the handful of things that were kind of catching my attention that I wanted to check out on this update. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the deep dive, and I will see you in the next one.